scrutinise everything the government does, and by scrutinise, they need to look at the other arguments. And it's not like there aren't scientists out there with other arguments as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people, relatively very prominent people actually, coming out, signing documents, signing these things, giving other opinions, and it's falling on deaf ears. So
yeah,
it's crazy, man. It's very crazy. Just going back to the sort of authoritarian thing that we touched on at the beginning, or you touched on at the beginning. I was listening to LBC at the weekend, the weekend, and there's a funny caller. So they were actually talking about Brexit, and they were worrying that a no-deal Brexit would cause food shortages, and it would cause the government to use emergency powers and stamp down on our freedoms and sort of stamp down on the general public.
Right.
I think it was Majid Nawaz, who's really, really good LBC presenter, I think, on the weekends. Anyway, so he then obviously draws the parallel to coronavirus and says, well, they used the emergency powers and they stamped down on our freedoms during corona, didn't they? Because they forced us to not go out, they forced us not to see people, not to go to work, this kind of stuff. And the caller was like, oh, no, but that was a good thing. And it's this complete like lack of awareness of like not being able to follow a line from one issue to another and seeing that the government cracking down on us, no matter how good you think it is, the government doing it is bad. And and it's like a complete, it's such a antithesis of what a conservative party should be standing for.
Yeah.
They stand for this like small government, this sort of, take a step back and, like you said, let people either like flourish or not flourish, and sort of, if they through their own choices, that is, you've got to make it an equal playing field. But within that playing field, if you make good and bad choices, you have to suffer the consequences of both good and bad.
Yeah.
And man, it's just such a shame. There's such a massive hole right now in Parliament for a party to step up, and strive forward with an actual alternative viewpoint that people will get behind, and it's such a vacuum in the moment.
Mate, I think there's been a vacuum for years.
Yeah,
like on various different policies, on both sides. There's been various arguments for different stuff, but there's never been a counter argument. Like that's why Corbyn, in my opinion, got trounced so badly last election, because he just didn't pick a team. He didn't pick the opposite team, basically.
Yeah.
He just didn't.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I totally get it. That's the thing. I think that's kind of what Conservatives are doing right now. Though they're not picking a team because they're making these mumbles of like not wanting to lock down and stuff, but they're still falling into the same traps over and over again. But it's if they were the party of strict lockdowns, I wouldn't be very happy about it, but at least they'd have like we're going to lock down. As soon as it looks bad, we lock down straight away and there's no ambiguity there. That's what we do. But they aren't that party. They're also the party of, oh no, we don't want to lock down at all. We're going to try but they're in this middle ground and it's not doing good either way,
Yeah.
So, gosh, shame. It's a shame.
I wish we could find the result. I wish we could find the answer, the solution right here on this podcast. Yeah. But, I don't think we are. Obviously, if like we could do it that easily and that quickly, then somebody would be doing it. But but
for sure.
The important thing we're doing here is like talking about it, what people are doing right, and whether we like it or not, we're kind of the media, right? Right now, our listenership is like 4 or something. Yeah, but it's still like we're still sort of broadcasting essentially, and that's always the point, isn't it? To like talk about stuff and to keep these issues like fresh in people's minds and make people think about them at least, or chip in a few ideas or something. But I think the main draw from this conversation is like, where's the opposition? Like, where's the other idea? Where's the viable other option, basically? Not just another rehashed version of the same option, like the opposite option, That's what's missing. In terms of political parties in this country, though, there's not a lot. There aren't many, right? There aren't, especially compared to sort of Central European countries where there are multiple different parties. They've all got different ideas and stuff.
Yeah, so this is one of the sort of downsides of like the first past the post systems and the non sort of proportional representation, because it means that you've got these two main parties, or at least a couple of big players, and if you vote them in and they don't do what you, I don't know. They need to. It also it sort of. Sorry, I'm trying to get my words here. They tend to sort of drift to the centre and become this sort of ambiguous, or it seems like that. They sort of tend to drift, and they need a real like personality sort of leading it that can get away with stuff and can sort of drive the party forward. But at the moment, if we talk about vacuums, we've had a vacuum of leadership for a while now. Say what you want about Tony Blair, but I think he's the last prime minister we've had that's actually had any sort of personality that people can get behind as a leader.
Are you not including Boris? Do you not think Boris has got a strong personality?
I think he has got a strong personality, but he's
not politically. You mean?
I think politically he's very weak. Yeah, I think he cares a little bit too much about his sort of stature and his the way people think about him.
Right. Okay.
He's not the Thatcher who's going to make people hate them or her, but it's going to be for the greater good, in her opinion.
Yeah.
For the country, and he's not that guy. He's the guy that, from what I gather, and I'm very disappointed because I did vote for him, and I am disappointed to see this state of affairs. Quite honestly, like I feel like, oh man, imagine he's not. I don't know. He loves Churchill, but he's no Churchill. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's interesting actually. Yeah, sort of separating a personal personality and a political personality. Mm-hmm. That's very important, isn't it? And I guess Boris has got this like he's a big character and he talks a good game, but at the moment we're not seeing that sort of Churchillian or Thatcherite political personality, are we? Like it or loathe it. So, it's a very good point about Tony Blair. Actually, I'm not Blair's biggest fan, but he was like he stuck his oar in basically and said, "This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. Follow me or not." Basically. Yeah,
it's it, and that's the thing, and that's what separates those iconic leaders. Good, like I say, good or bad, they stick to their guns. So. I don't know, and it's a shame because Boris does have the personality. If he had the political will behind him, to push these ideas, these conservative ideas that the party that he's supposed to be leading forward, he might actually be able to do it and carry a lot of people with him. But it's a shame. It is a shame.
You've also got a problem with such a large majority, like the Conservatives do at the moment. You're also going to have a big sort of cross section of Conservative society within that massive majority, aren't you? If you've only got 4 MPs, the likelihood that they agree is greater. But if you've got like however many they've got, I can't even remember, they've got loads. Mm-hmm. You're going to have some that are very moderate and then some that are sort of very hardline. So it's then hard. The chances of infighting are infinitely greater, aren't they? Because you've got all these different Tory viewpoints within one party. And then obviously there's more backup for each of those viewpoints, so the chances of revolt are greater, right? For good, again, for good or bad. So I guess it's good in the sense that this sort of COVID research group or whatever they're called, I don't think they're called that, but something similar that are sort of anti-lockdown. There's a lot of backing for them within their side of the party, but then there's also a lot of opposition against that. The Matt Hancocks and his crew that are very like pro lockdown, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you're right. Excuse me. Oh, God.
Those cigs, mate. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's 5K right. Isn't 5,000 cigarettes, right?
Oh God, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. Oh man, I actually brought another subject in here that's kind of leads on from that quite nicely, but it's also pretty heavy. I don't know. Do you want to? Should we go a bit lighthearted and come back to this, or
no? Go heavy. Like I think our listeners can deal with it, and then we'll come back with our top 5 Christmas drinks.
Yeah, perfect. All right, good. Okay, so we're talking about infighting within political parties and possibly infighting within, I don't know, society in general.
Yeah.
And so let me tell you, I was listening to Sam Smith today.
Okay. The singer.
His new album. The singer, yeah. A video came up.
Whose new album?
Sam Smith's new album.
Right, okay.
Yeah, am I right? I think you said that?
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you just said his new album.
Oh, sorry. Oh, God. Oh,
Is that why you want to talk about? No, well, this is just an interesting point. Yeah, I'm not trying to break you over hot coals or anything. No, for sure. That's just interesting because it's so easy to say.
It's so
right?
easy. Yeah. So this is a good conversation to have. A very dangerous one, I would say. But their new album, and this. There was a video basically that I watched where they were talking about their new album and what it meant to them and stuff like that. And a lot of it is about them coming out as non-binary. I'll move off of this subject as soon as possible because I know I'm going to get tongue-tied straight away.
We don't. People are trying their best, right? It's a new concept.
That's true.
Whether people like it or not, it's a new concept of sort of changing the English language to incorporate new words in contexts where they haven't been used before, whether you agree with it or not. So it's like if people make mistakes, I think nobody cares if people make honest mistakes. It's
Yeah, I think you're right.
Even Sam Smith, they wouldn't hold it against you for sure.
Yeah,
or me, because I'm going to make the same mistake in 10
would.
minutes' time. I'm going to do the same thing.
So anyway, so I'm talking about this video, and I was like, you know what, I need to give that album a go. And it isn't bad, to be honest. Proper pop album. I like his voice. He's got a great falsetto. Like his head voice is sick.
Oh,
so
it is so strong, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's unreal. So I dabbled in his album, their album, Jesus, today. Anyway, so the main thing behind the album, according to what they said, was this idea of not wanting to feel guilty and not wanting to be judged and not wanting to whatever. All those things. We've heard it a million times before with different artists and stuff about how they choose to live and that kind of stuff and how they are. And it sort of made me think, societal pressure and whether it's good or bad in certain subjects. Now, let's leave the trans issue to one side. I don't want to talk about trans at all regarding this, but there are some things where there were societal pressures that sort of didn't physically force us, but like the society made you do certain things, like made you get married before you had sex or had kids, or made you be polite, or I don't know, whatever it may be. There were certain norms that were sort of forced upon us by societal pressures, or possibly religious studies and things that sort of, they were just impregnated everything that you were about as you grew up, and they were just second nature. And it made me think about how we've lost a lot of that, and that through the sort of civil rights movements and these kind of things, these social pressures have been sort of lifted up. And obviously on the individual level, that's nice. You don't want to be judged. You don't want to be looked down upon or whatever for what you do. But when you look at the numbers, obviously there are certain things that sort of go astray. So that's one thing. And then secondly to that, obviously with the downfall of these social pressures becomes the downfall of religion and sort of societal values that are just shared between everyone. So as an Englishman 100 years ago, most likely you would be Christian. Or at least been brought up Christian, and you would have these Christian values that were just so second nature to you. Even if you disagreed with someone politically, you'd both share these same values that just underpinned everything. And as we're losing that, there's almost too many arguments now with every discussion we have. There's too many voices coming in, and there's very little underpinning all of our societal sort of values. And it means that these infightings, sort of trying to bring it back now, the infighting within political parties, within society, is just so much worse than it's ever been, because there's no either societal pressure or societal sort of underpinnings that we've all got and share. And I just thought it was super interesting, and just, I don't know, I've been trying to think, how can we get that back, and how can we reintroduce this where we've got like good societal pressure, maybe to stop people being super promiscuous, or God, I don't know if that's going to give me trouble, but
being polite to each other.
Polite, exactly.
Not spitting in the street.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And maybe having some of that return backwards, possibly, but without the sort of like homophobia and without the more aggressive side of things. Is there a way we can meet in the middle there? I don't know.
Man, you weren't kidding.
It's deep.
That's a good old point.